Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. Wait, go back to that story a second. My hand tightened on her wrist before I even realized. She flinched, phone tilting, thumb hovering over the screen. Chill what? She laughed, but she still scrolled back. My heartbeat started doing this weird heavy drum in my ears. The story replayed and I leaned closer than normal. I knew that face on the right instantly and my stomach dropped. On the left was my boyfriend, smiling like everything was perfect. On the right was the girl who used to tear me apart. I am Ava, I am 21, and that frame punched straight through me. Is that Noah? I heard my voice go thin. My friend glanced at me like she was checking for drama. Yeah, they were out last night, I think downtown somewhere. She flicked her eyes back to the screen, then to me. I could not stop staring at their heads tilted together. I told myself I was overreacting that first instant. Two people in one frame did not mean anything technically. You know that stupid talk you give yourself for calm. They are just at the same table, it is nothing. Except my chest already knew it was not nothing at all. Can you tap it again? I missed the start. My voice sounded too casual, like I was doing a bad impression. She shrugged and tapped back, no big deal for her. It started from the beginning with the little progress bar. I counted 3 clips before they appeared in the frame together. The girl was talking to the camera, leaning into the shot. Her lip gloss caught the light and her fake laugh bounced. Noah was beside her, leaning close, lifting his drink toward her. He was not looking at the camera, he was looking at her. There was a second where they both ignored everyone else completely. I know how my boyfriend looks with random people around. There is always this tiny distance, shoulders angled half away. Here he was turned toward her, completely in her space. He looked comfortable, familiar, like this was not their first hang. I felt this cold little spark of pure dread light up. My friend swiped to the next story, just moving along. Hold on, can you pause on that one for me? Now she really looked at me, eyebrows jumping just slightly. You good, or am I about to hear something crazy? I forced a laugh that sounded like it belonged to someone else. That girl, I said, and my throat tightened on the word. I made myself unclench my jaw so I could finish. She used to mess with me like a lot actually. The old scenes flashed up for a second, then slammed back down. Even remembering that much was enough to make my neck tense. My friend shifted in her seat, more serious now, less amused. Wait, you know her, like personally know her? Yeah, I said, and it came out clipped and flat. I could not say more without opening a whole other box. My eyes stayed locked on Noah's arm resting behind her chair. Here is the part where I wish I had walked away. Just closed my eyes, told myself it was nothing important. Pretended I never saw that stupid glowing circle at all. Instead, my brain latched onto one tiny detail under her name. There was a small list of icons, and I recognized his immediately. I saw Noah's handle tagged right under her caption. The little mention sat there, casual, like it meant nothing. I knew his username like I knew my own phone number. Seeing it right next to her selfie made my teeth press together. She tagged him, I muttered, more to myself than to my friend. Yeah, they hang out sometimes now, I think. My friend's tone tried to stay neutral, but she watched me now. Like group stuff though, I am pretty sure it is fine. That word fine made something hot and shaky run through my arms. Since when did my boyfriend hang out with my bully casually? I pulled my phone out so fast I almost dropped it. The lock screen blurred, my thumb missed the app the first time. You know that clumsy panic where your body feels too slow. By the time I got Instagram open, my palms felt damp. I typed her username with my heart jumping on every letter. Her profile popped up like normal, follower count sitting there. I saw the grid, her face everywhere, nothing looked restricted. But the little circle around her profile picture was completely plain. No color, no ring, no sign she had posted anything recent. My stomach did that weird hollow flip people talk about in movies. I clicked anyway just to make sure my eyes were right. The page stayed still, no new stories, nothing to view. The top bar was just blank white space, empty and obvious. On my friend's phone, that same spot had been pulsing bright. On mine, it looked like a door bricked over without warning. That is weird, I said, and my voice went quiet. I tilted my screen toward her like I needed external proof. Look, she has a story on yours but not on mine. My friend frowned, squinting between our phones like a referee. Maybe it just glitched, sometimes mine shows stuff earlier. I wanted tea. Oh, grab that explanation and hold it tight. I really did, because the alternative felt like stepping off a ledge. It is probably nothing, right, just some dumb app lag. Even while I said it, I refreshed her profile twice. The top of the screen stayed stubborn and empty like it knew. Here, my friend said, and pulled her phone out of my hand. She opened the story again and paused right on their faces. There, see, it is still up right now, no glitch. She lifted her phone next to mine like a side-by-side test. On hers the story glowed, on mine there was just silence. I felt my ears start ringing like real noise, not metaphor. My thumb hovered over the refresh icon even though it was useless. Sweat gathered at the base of my neck and would not move. Try checking from your spam account, she suggested, almost joking. That one sentence made everything in me go very still. She did not even know I had that old backup account. I had mentioned it once while we scrolled through memes together. I used it to follow people I did not want to engage. Bullies, relatives, people I was not ready to block fully. The fact that she remembered it right then hit strange. I logged out of my main account with shaking fingers, everything buzzing. Typed the backup username and password slower so I would not mess up. For a second, I thought I had forgotten the password completely. Then the feed loaded and my old random follows popped into view. I searched her profile again, breathing hard through my nose. This time the circle around her picture lit up instantly. No delay, no hiccup, just that bright ring like a siren. I tapped it and the same story started playing immediately. Same laugh, same drink, same angle, same two heads leaning close. Only difference was I was finally seeing what I was not meant to see. There was no way to talk myself out of it anymore. She had hidden that story from my main account deliberately. Not an app bug, not some random glitch, a deliberate choice. My boyfriend knew I followed her from that main account. Someone had decided I did not get to watch them together. I paused the clip on Noah's face, thumb pressed on the screen. His eyes were half closed mid-laugh, mouth open in sound. I knew exactly what that laugh felt like under my hand. I knew that tilt of his head, that comfortable loose posture. It was the way he sat when nothing in the world bothered him. For a moment I wondered if I was the problem here. Like maybe I was being paranoid or dramatic or whatever. That voice in my head loves the word dramatic way too much. But people do not hide harmless stories from specific partners online. Not when they know that partner has history with the person there. My friend watched my face and stopped trying to fill the silence. The air between us got dense, heavy, like it might crack. You did not know they were hanging out, did you? I just shook my head, eyes still locked on the frozen frame. It felt like I was staring at a car crash in slow motion. I backed out of the story and stared at her profile again. That bright ring mocked me, shining on one account and not another. I thought about how many times they might have done this before. How many nights I had scrolled peacefully while they hid in plain sight. The idea made my chest feel tight and weirdly hollow at once. I logged out of the backup and back into my main. Her page came up clean and bare like a wiped whiteboard. You know that feeling when you realize you were edited out? Not just accidentally overlooked, but removed on purpose from something. That was the moment when the ground under my relationship shifted. I need to go, I said too fast, grabbing my bag. My friend reached out like she wanted to stop me or something. Hey, breathe, maybe just talk to him first tonight. I nodded because arguing would have made my voice crack open. Inside, I already knew this was not a simple talk situation. On the ride home, my phone felt heavy in my hand. I kept unlocking it, staring at his name, then locking it again. Half of me wanted to call and scream immediately, no filter. The other half wanted to wait and gather more proof first. Both halves agreed on one thing, though something had just snapped. I did not text first that night I drove. Music played in the car and I kept lowering the volume. Every red light made me want to turn around and go home. I kept seeing that paused frame in my head and gripping the wheel harder. By the time I reached his place, my jaw hurt from clenching. I locked the car and walked fast like my legs already knew. My thumb hovered over his name on my screen, then stopped. I wanted to look him in the eyes when I asked. He opened the door with that easy smile he always used. Hey, you got here quicker than I thought. He stepped forward for a hug and I let him stiff. My arms wrapped around him, but my mind stood across the room. You good? He asked after a second, leaning back to study me. Yeah, just tired, I said, which was technically a lie. He moved aside and waved me in like nothing was wrong. That casual gesture somehow pissed me off even more. He walked toward the couch and tossed his keys on the table. Crazy day at work, I swear my boss hates me. He started rambling about some meeting and people talking over him. I watched his mouth move and waited for him to mention her. He did not bring up the night out at all. No quick mention of friends or drinks or any bar. He talked about traffic and coffee and some random coworker. The silence around that story felt louder with every sentence. How was your day? He asked finally, grabbing the remote. It got interesting, I said, and that made him pause. He glanced over with the remote still in his hand. Interesting how? He asked, eyebrow twitching just slightly. I did not answer right away. I pulled out my phone. Opened the backup account, fingers steady now from pure anger. I found her profile like I had done before. The circle around her picture was still there, still active. He watched me for a moment, trying to read my mood. You doom scrolling again? He asked, trying to sound playful. Not really, I said, and hit her story without blinking. The clip loaded and there he was, right beside her. I walked over and held the screen out between us. Want to explain this? I asked, voice calm in a scary way. His eyes dropped to the phone and widened for half a second. That tiny slip told me more than anything he said after. Then he chuckled and shook his head like it was nothing. Oh my God, that you are mad about that. He leaned back on the couch and spread his hands wide. It was just a bunch of us hanging out. I kept the phone held up, story frozen on their faces. A bunch of you and her, I answered, not letting it drop. He glanced at the screen again and rubbed his neck. We were with friends, she showed up, I barely talked to her. That last part landed wrong because the clip showed otherwise. You are standing right next to her, laughing at something. He rolled his eyes and let out this annoyed little exhale. People move around, it is a story, not a documentary. My patience snapped a little at that word documentary. It is not just the video, I said, lowering the phone. I switched to my main account and opened her profile. I tilted the screen so he could see the empty top bar. From this account, I see nothing from her tonight. I switched back to the backup account and opened it again. From this one, I see everything, including you all over it. My hand shook now, but I did not hide it anymore. He stared between the two screens, then looked at me. Okay, that is super weird, must be some app bug. The way he stressed app bug made my teeth grind. He knew exactly what I was pointing at, and we both knew. She restricted me on purpose, I said, keeping my tone flat. She hid it from me and made sure I would not see. I swallowed hard because the next part felt worse. And you were comfortable enough there to be in multiple clips. He scoffed and leaned forward, elbows on his knees now. You are acting like we ran off together or something. His fingers tapped against his leg, tempo going faster. She is being dramatic, probably thought you still hate her. I do not follow her from a fake account for fun. The words came out sharper than I planned, but I meant them. I only saw it because my friend had her story open. I left out how I grabbed her wrist because that detail burned. He focused on the fake account part and ignored everything else. You know how crazy that sounds, right, stalking her that way? He laughed once, short and mean, like he was above it. You are mad at me while you lurk from some secret profile. That line flipped something in my chest, something heavy. You are deflecting, I said, blinking hard so I would not cry. If nothing weird is going on, why hide the story from me? He stood up suddenly, pacing a few steps like he needed space. Maybe she did not want drama, did that cross your mind? His hands cut through the air as he talked faster. You have history with her, she probably tried to avoid another fight. He looked genuinely annoyed, like he was tired of old problems. Then why go out with her at all? I asked, voice lower. He shrugged and shrugged again, shoulders jerking in this impatient way. Because my friends invited her, I am not her handler. He met my eyes then, daring me to call him on it. I realized he kept saying my friends like I was not one. You could have told me you were going to be around her. The words tasted bitter, but I pushed them out anyway. I had to find out from someone else's screen across a table. He pressed his lips together, then tried another angle. I knew you would flip out exactly like this, that is why. He gestured at the space between us like it was evidence. I wanted one low-stress night without this interrogation. There it was, the part where I became the problem. You know that moment when the story quietly rewrites itself. Suddenly, he was just a guy trying to relax with friends. I was the jealous girlfriend stalking social media from backup accounts. I am not interrogating you, I am asking basic respect stuff. I could hear my voice start to shake and hated it. I am not okay with you getting cozy with someone who hurt me. I did not add that hiding it hurt even more than the clip. He rolled his neck like this whole talk exhausted him deeply. You always think the worst of me, it is exhausting. He looked at the ceiling, then back at me in one sharp move. Nothing happened and you are making a whole crime show out of it. I looked down at the phone still glowing in my hand. The clip had restarted without sound, their bodies close again. I tapped the screen off and everything went dark. Then stopped lying by leaving things out and letting her hide me. His eyes narrowed at the word lying like I had crossed a line. I did not lie, I just did not give you a full schedule. He folded his arms across his chest, closing himself off. You want me to text you every time someone you dislike appears. In that second I saw how this would play out long term. Anytime I raised a boundary, he would call it controlling. Anytime I caught something suspicious, he would blame my reactions. I still tried to fix it though, because that is what I do. Look, I started, rubbing my forehead with my free hand. I am not asking for a tracking app or constant reports. My voice dropped softer, which annoyed me later when I replayed it. I just needed you to say, hey, she might be there tonight. He watched me in silence, jaw working like he was chewing frustration. Fine, he muttered finally, shoulders dropping a fraction. Next time I will send a calendar invite or something. The sarcasm slid between us and sat there like a dare. I went quiet for a long moment and just breathed. The room felt smaller, heavier, like the air got thick. He picked up the remote and turned the TV on too quickly. That move told me he considered the conversation over. I stayed standing while the opening credits filled the room. He glanced at me, then back at the screen, pretending to relax. You coming to sit, or are you still mad about Instagram? The way he said Instagram made it sound childish and petty. I realized then that he believed his own version more than mine. In his head, he was the reasonable one holding everything together. I was the unstable one twisting a harmless night into something darker. That realization sat in my chest like a heavy locked box. I turned the TV off with one sharp click and stared at him. We are not finished, I said, and my voice came out steady. He opened his mouth, then shut it when he saw my face. Under all his irritation, there was a quick flash of worry. That flicker stayed with me later more than anything he said. Because for a split second I caught something like guilt in his eyes. It vanished almost immediately, buried under more annoyance and jokes. But once I saw it, I could not unsee it anymore. My first solid proof dropped on a random Tuesday afternoon. My phone buzzed on the table and lit up with a screenshot. The notification preview showed her username and 3 question marks after it. I swiped it open without thinking because my chest already felt weird. The image filled my screen before the text loaded under it. It was another story from her, same kind of night out energy. He was in the middle this time, her arm hooked through his casually. Under the picture my friend had typed, "You cool with this or not?" My fingers went numb for a second and I had to blink. For a tiny moment, I tried to believe it was the old clip. Then I saw the date at the top and my stomach clenched hard. This one was from last night, after our lovely honest conversation. There was a little green ring around her profile picture in the screenshot. At the top of the frame, it read "Close Friends" in small letters. My friend had circled that part with a shaky drawn line. I could feel my pulse in my throat while I stared at it. Another text came in before I could type anything back. "Did not know you guys were all good now," she wrote. I saw he reposted it too with some extra hearts also. "You two keeping this chill thing a secret or what?" I opened Instagram so fast my thumb slipped on the screen. I went straight to his profile, not even thinking about it. No story ring around his name, just a plain little circle. My brain tried to slow this down, but my hands kept moving. I switched to my secondary profile with practiced muscle memory. That account loaded and I tapped his name again immediately. This time a bright ring greeted me, mocking me from the top. I hid it and the same photo popped up, slightly cropped differently. He had shared her post to his own close friends list. Across the bottom he had added his own caption in white. Best nights with the real ones, plus a laughing emoji and 2 hearts. Underneath, her username and one other friend were tagged together. I stared at his little caption longer than I should have. Real ones echoed in my skull louder than any insult ever did. Apparently the person hiding from his girlfriend counted as authentic now. My thumb hovered over the list of tiny circles at the bottom. You know those little dots showing how many clips are in a set. There were more than I expected, at least 5 in that cluster. I tapped through slowly, watching each one with the sound muted. They were not background strangers in these, they were a matched energy. In one shot she leaned into him and yelled something at his ear. He laughed and grabbed her wrist in this familiar, comfortable way. Another clip showed them clinking glasses together, synced like a practiced move. None of that fit with barely talking, not even a little bit. I took a screenshot before I could talk myself out of it. Then another, then a full screen recording just to be safe. Paranoid maybe, but my trust level was already on fumes. I knew if I confronted him again, he would demand evidence. My friend's typing bubbles appeared at the top of our thread. You look like you stopped breathing, answer me, she wrote next. I sent her one of my screenshots without any extra words. She replied almost instantly, girl, that is not group hang vibes. I called her instead of trying to keep up by text. She picked up on the second ring with a sharp exhale. I did not want to stir stuff, but this felt off. I could hear traffic in the background and her voice stayed low. How long has this been going on? I asked, staring at the image. Couple weeks, maybe more, I keep seeing them in her stories. She hesitated and then added another piece like she regretted it. He always reacts like flames or hearts, never just a neutral thing. That part hit harder than the arms and drinks somehow. Reacting to content means you had time to think and still did it. Sitting there tapping hearts on stories hidden from your partner says plenty. My grip tightened on the phone until my knuckles actually ached. Why did you not tell me sooner? Slipped out before I filtered. Thought you already knew. Honestly, he acted like it was normal. She paused again, then pushed out one more detail reluctantly. Last night he joked he had to keep stuff off your radar. Those words made the room feel suddenly smaller around me. He was not just involved, he was actively leaning into the secrecy. It was not her being messy on social media alone anymore. He was collaborating, and somehow I still felt like the unstable one. After I hung up, I opened her profile again from my main. Still no story ring, just that same quiet static above her name. From the secondary profile, everything glowed like a private theater screen. I bounced between them fast until I felt almost dizzy from switching. I realized something new while flicking back and forth like that. On his shared version, the viewer list icon showed in the corner. On my secondary profile, I could see the little viewer count clearly. On my main, his story did not exist at all, not even grade. He had not only let her hide content from me anymore. He had started mirroring the behavior on his own account now. There is a big difference between passive and active in these things. He had crossed that line without even mentioning it once. I checked his following list out of pure spite-filled curiosity. Her name sat high on the list, recent with notifications on. I knew they were not old connections, just lazily left untouched. Every tap of my finger revealed a newer pattern under the last. I clicked on her profile through my secondary and scrolled further down. There were older posts with his username sitting under them, bold. Likes and comments from weeks back, little inside jokes and short replies. So the night he called it random had not been their first contact. That realization felt like a bucket of cold water straight to my face. He had framed it like some surprise appearance during a casual outing. Meanwhile, he had been engaging with her content for weeks already. My mind started replaying every strange mood and late reply recently. I wanted to throw the phone across the room and be done. Instead, I opened our chat thread and scrolled to last night. His texts were all soft, reassuring, acting hurt that I questioned him. Nothing matched the guy smiling into a camera with his arm wrapped. For a second I wondered if I should confront him immediately again. Just drop every screenshot on the table and watch him scramble. Another part of me wanted to wait just a little. Not out of kindness, out of wanting a complete picture. That thought made me feel a little dirty, like I was scheming.
B.
But honestly, at that point, I did not trust my own judgment. I needed more than one catch, more than one contradicting screenshot. I wanted something he could not twist back on me later. I started paying attention to his posting habits like it was homework. When he shared memes, when he posted songs, when he went quiet. I noticed he never had stories up when we were physically together. They always popped up later on nights I was not around him. That pattern sat in my notes app like a quiet little list. I did not show it to anyone, it felt obsessive on paper. Still, writing it down helped keep me from gaslighting myself again. I needed to see the timeline somewhere outside of my brain. The next weekend we were on the couch and his phone lit. Her name flashed across his screen as a new notification at the top. He flipped the phone face down so fast it almost fell. He laughed it off with some comment about group chat chaos. I did not push right then, I just watched and nodded slowly. Every instinct in me wanted to grab that phone and open it. Instead, I told a story about something else and studied his reactions. His eyes kept flickering to where his phone sat upside down. That was the night I decided I was going to look eventually. Not out of curiosity, but because I was already being edited around. He had his secret circles and I had my quiet list of patterns. We were both hiding things now, and that never ends gently. His phone buzzed next to my leg and lit up. I looked down on reflex and saw her name on the banner. There was a little red heart dropped right after it. Before my brain caught up, my thumb was already on the screen. Water ran in the bathroom down the hall, steady and loud. He had walked in there 2 minutes earlier with music playing. I sat frozen, holding his unlocked phone in both hands. Every nerve in my body screamed that this was a line. Here is the part I am still not proud of. I could have locked it and set it back down. I could have waited and asked him again, face to face. Instead, I pulled the notification down and opened the chat. Her icon sat at the top with that tiny heart beside it. Searching for the red felt childish, but it hit hard anyway. I had never seen that symbol next to any other name. It did not look like a glitch, it looked intentional. The first thing on the screen was her last message. Did she chill out or still acting paranoid? Under that, his reply sent 5 minutes earlier. She is being dramatic as usual, but I handled it. My throat went tight so fast I had to swallow twice. That was my entire pain reduced to 2 short lines. Dramatic as usual, like I was some running joke between them. Handled it like I was a problem he had closed. Water kept hitting the tub steady, giving me a countdown. I flicked my thumb upward and the conversation jumped higher. Little bubbles stacked on each other in a long chain. Weeks of chats, dates stamped at the top like receipts. Near the top was a message from him on a Thursday. Loki, you are way easier to talk to than her. I did not breathe for a second after reading that one. He had followed it with a laughing emoji and another heart. Her answer sat right under it, short and smug. That is because I am not insecure and obsessed with you. I actually flinched seeing that, even alone in the room. He had reacted with a flame emoji and nothing else. I scrolled slower after that, almost scared of the next bubble. They had memes and stupid videos and inside references everywhere. Little nicknames for each other, little running bits I knew nothing about. He had never once mentioned sharing any of that with her. Then I hit the night of the bar story and my stomach lurched. She would lose it if she knew you were here, he wrote. Her answer popped up right under it like a punch. Then do not tell her, simple solution. He had sent back already on it with a wink emoji. My hand tightened around the phone until it hurt. I could almost hear myself arguing with him in his living room. Him claiming it was random while these words sat here quietly. Farther down they were talking about that first night we fought. The one he called stupid and meaningless and not a big deal. She is spiraling again about nothing, he had typed to her. You make way more sense than she ever does. She had replied, because I am not stuck in high school drama. Then you deserve someone who actually trusts you. Seeing that on the screen made my face go hot. Because in that moment he clearly agreed with her, not me. I skimmed the rest of that section faster, trying not to gag. They talked about my energy and how I overthink everything. He had turned my panic into funny stories for someone else. Every private fear became material for their late-night commentary. I know I was invading his privacy while judging him. Trust me, I have run that loop in my head many times. But reading him CK me with the girl who used to harass me. It felt less like snooping and more like finally seeing the script. The shower turned off and the pipes went quiet. I had maybe a minute before he walked back into the room. My thumb shook over the screen while I scrambled up. I backed out of the chat and opened his home screen. I did not have time to send anything to myself. No forwarding, no photos, nothing I could hold up later. Just burning sentences etched into my brain like ugly tattoos. I hit the power button and laid the phone face down. He came around the corner, rubbing his hair with a towel. "Thought you fell asleep out here," he joked, dropping onto the couch. I forced my arms to stay loose at my sides. My heart felt like it was punching that relaxed pose in the face. He picked up the phone and glanced at the lock screen. For a second I panicked that some menu stayed open. His brow stayed smooth, no sign he noticed anything off. He unlocked it, checked something quick, and tossed it down again. "Want to order food or do you already eat?" he asked. His voice sounded light, easy, like the chat did not exist. That casual tone honestly made me feel a little nauseous. I stared at his face and tried to match it to those texts. "Busy day," I said finally because real words would crack. I pretended to check my own phone, hands trembling slightly. Messages from my friend blinked at the top of my screen. I ignored them because if I opened them I might explode. He leaned back and stretched, completely comfortable in his skin. "See, this is nice, no weird arguments, no social media drama." The way he used the word drama twisted my stomach again. Like he had already told her I was the problem before tonight. I watched his fingers drum on his knee in a quick rhythm. Those same hands had typed out lines about me over weeks. Honest thoughts he never had the nerve to bring to my face. It made every soft conversation we ever had feel slightly fake. Part of me wanted to throw everything on the table immediately. To say I saw it all, explain this now or we are done. Another part held me back, scared he would twist it again. Make the entire issue about me picking up his phone once. I sat there caught between my own two worst versions. The obedient girlfriend who pretended nothing was wrong and stayed. The furious one who broke his privacy and turned into the villain. Either way, I felt like I had already lost the clean version. He nudged my leg with his foot and smiled. "You look like you are on another planet, you okay?" My laugh came out thin and rough around the edges. "Just tired," I said again, hating how easy that lie came. When I think back now, that moment was a pivot point. I had the truth finally, straight from his own screen. I also had every reason to walk out and never return. Instead, I stayed on that couch and let the night continue. The timeline cracked in one lazy sentence over breakfast. He was scrolling through his phone with half a smile on. "Crazy how we have all been talking since winter," he mumbled. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth before my brain even reacted. I watched him, not moving, waiting for him to notice. He kept tapping, thumb relaxed, chuckling at something I could not see. "All who?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. My heart knew exactly which name was coming anyway. "Our little group," he answered, still focused on the screen. "Me, her, a few others just clowning in the chat." He took a sip of coffee and finally looked up. "What did you think? We just started talking last week." That one line messed with my sense of time completely. Because recently he swore it was a random, recent thing. I felt my scalp prickle the way it does before a migraine. "Since winter," I repeated like I was just confirming the season. He nodded, chewing on a piece of toast without any worry. "Yeah, like February or something, around that alumni thing." He shrugged and focused again on whatever was on his screen. For him it was small talk, for me it was a bomb. I replayed his older explanations like clips in my head. He had said they barely messaged, that it was casual. He claimed the hangout I saw was sudden and unplanned. Now apparently they had a running group chat for months. "You never mentioned any of that," I said, voice thin. He frowned like I was nitpicking the wording of a text. "What, that there is a group chat? It is not special." He tossed his phone down and wiped his hands on a napkin. "It is special enough that you talk about me in there." The words came out sharper than I expected, almost a snap. His shoulders tightened just slightly before he covered it with a smirk. You digging through my stuff again in your head or what? There it was again, the flip back onto me. I should have dropped it if I wanted to keep peace. Instead, I went for the part that actually mattered. So you have been close with her since before. Our big argument. He hesitated for a second, then waved one hand dismissively. We all reconnected around that reunion planning thing, no big deal. He said it fast, like ripping off a bandage with a grin. My chest did that slow, heavy drop I am now familiar with. Because I remembered that specific weekend vividly for another reason. That was when we had our first serious fight out of nowhere. He vanished the whole evening and came back overly sweet after midnight. At the time, I thought I was being suspicious for noticing. I opened my calendar on my phone under the table. Scrolled back to that month looking for the exact date. My fingers shook when I saw the note I had written. Called him 3 times, no answer, huge fight next day. Where was this reunion thing, I asked, eyes still on my screen. He scratched his jaw thinking, then gave a vague answer. Some bar downtown, same spot we always go for meetups. His tone made it sound like the dullest event on earth. You told me you were at your friend's apartment that night. I lifted my gaze slowly and watched his eyes widen. For a blink he looked like a kid caught with stolen candy. Then he laughed once loud, trying to blow past the tension. Oh my God, you remember that, it was forever ago. He leaned back in his chair, trying to look amused. We went to his place after, calmed down, same difference. He picked up his phone again, like that ended the question. It was not the answer itself that hit, but the speed. He pivoted so quickly from reunion to apartment to whatever. Like mixing those locations was the most natural thing ever. I felt something inside me tip from confused to quietly done. Later that day, I sat with my notes app open. I started matching his new winter timeline to my old memories. Every time he mentioned some event, I found a corresponding argument. Nights he went weirdly distant lined up with nights she posted. It turned into a twisted little puzzle on my screen. There was the night he ignored my calls for hours. She had posted a late selfie with his hoodie in frame. I stared at that overlap until my head started buzzing. Then there was another date that set off alarm bells. I remembered crying in my car while he sent short replies. He told me he was overwhelmed with work and needed space. That same day, he reacted to 3 of her stories in a row. I only knew that because I went back on my secondary account. Scrolled her highlights until my thumb hurt, searching for patterns. There he was in the tiny viewer list again and again. Little heart and fire reactions stacked under her videos. Look, I get that this started to look obsessive from outside. Even as I write this, I hear how wild it sounds. But when your sense of reality is being edited repeatedly, you start collecting anything that feels like proof you are not insane. The next time we met, I tried a different angle. We were in his car, music low, traffic creeping slowly. How long have you been in that group chat? I asked. He tapped the steering wheel like he was playing along. Dunno, couple months, it is just dumb memes mostly. He kept his eyes on the road, not on my face. I watched the muscles in his jaw pulse under the skin. Do you remember when they added you? I asked, more pointed. He shrugged again, that move I was starting to hate. Whenever they started planning the reunion thing, why does it matter? He shot me a quick side glance, testing my reaction. You are acting like there is some secret anniversary here. There kind of is, I replied, staring straight ahead. Because that is around when you started picking fights with me. He snorted, actually snorted, like I had told a stand-up joke. You really think the world revolves around your mood swings? That line hit harder than the cheating implications, honestly. Because I have always been scared of being too much emotionally. He knew that, and he still weaponized the word like that. I felt my throat burn, but I swallowed the comeback down. Instead, I opened my messages and scrolled to an old thread. Do you remember this night? I asked, holding the phone up. He flicked his eyes down for half a second, then back. On the screen was a paragraph from him, time stamped at midnight. You were so sweet here, apologizing for disappearing and stressing me out. I read the first line out loud, my voice very even. Where were you before you sent that exactly, since we are honest? He flicked his turn signal on harder than necessary, jaw clenched. Hanging with people, like I said back then, it was nothing. His grip tightened on the wheel, fingers pressing the leather hard. Why are you digging all this up? We already moved past it. He took a sharp breath through his nose, trying to stay controlled. I watched his profile and waited, just let the silence stretch. After a few seconds, he exhaled through his teeth, annoyed. It's fine, we were out with her. Indeed, some others happy now. He emphasized her like I was forcing a confession in an interrogation. So there it was, finally spoken out loud in plain language. Not random hangs, not surprise reunions, not vague people. Repeated nights out involving the one person who used to target me. All folded under him, needing a break from my supposed mood swings. The worst part was, some earlier version of me would have believed it. If he had framed it right from the beginning, I might have. Told myself I should not bring old issues into his friendships. Instead, he layered lies on top until they could not stand anymore. We pulled into his driveway around then, tension thick between us. He killed the engine and stayed gripping the wheel a moment longer. You either trust me or you do not, he said finally, very calm. I cannot keep defending myself every time I breathe near someone. That sentence sat between us like a final offer. For a second, I actually considered doing what he wanted. Just dropping it, pretending the messages and stories did not exist. Being the easy, chill version of myself he seemed to like. Then my brain flashed back to one specific text from her. She is lucky you still deal with her, she had typed once. He had replied, yeah, I know, with a laughing emoji. My fingers curled into my palms so hard my nails dug in. In that car, I realized our timelines were never going to match. His started when it became convenient, mine started at the first lie. We could sit there forever debating which month counted as the beginning. The only fixed point was how small I felt in his story. I dropped his spare key on the counter and pushed it forward. He glanced at it, then at my face, jaw already tight. Seriously, what is this now? He asked, fingers drumming on the table. My hands were shaking, but my voice came out weirdly calm. I am done, I said, and it sounded final even to me. No build-up, no speech, just those 3 words laid out. He laughed once, sharp, like he thought I was bluffing again. You are not actually ending things over Instagram nonsense. I did not answer that. I pulled my phone from my pocket. I opened my notes app and scrolled to the top silently. Lines of dates and screenshots waited there like receipts. I turned the screen and set it between us on the table. This is not about one story, I said, still steady. It is about months of hiding, deflecting, and talking about me. His brows pulled together as he skimmed the list quickly. He looked annoyed first, then something flickered that he tried to swallow. You are keeping logs of my life now, he scoffed, leaning back. Do you hear how obsessed that sounds when you say it? He pushed the phone away with 2 fingers like it burned. That move hit me harder than the actual words leaving his mouth. You edited me out of your life and called me insecure. I pulled the phone back and locked it in one motion. You let her block me, then joined in on jokes about me. My throat burned, but I forced the words out anyway. He stood up fast, chair scraping the floor behind him. So what, you want me to cut everyone off for you? His hand sliced the air, restless, defensive. I am allowed to have friends who are not you. This is not about friends, I said, also standing now. It is about you venting to someone who bullied me for years. I took a breath that shook on the way out. And about you telling her I am lucky you still stay. He froze at that line for half a second, eyes sharp. Wow, so you really went through everything on my phone. His mouth curled like he had found the real crime here. I knew something was off that night, you could not help yourself. Yeah, I opened it when her name popped up with a heart. I did not dodge it, I did not dress it up. I read the conversation where you called me unstable and clingy. My chest felt tight, but my shoulders finally stopped collapsing inward. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing in a short line. So you invade my privacy, then blame me for being upset. He laughed under his breath, bitter and weirdly impressed. You realize every normal person would break up with you for that. Good thing I am beating them to it then, I answered. I heard how harsh that sounded, but I did not take it back. Because honestly, that was the truest sentence in the room. His eyes flashed, and for the first time he looked nervous. This is months of you twisting everything I do into betrayal. He picked up his phone, gripping it too tight. You see one chat, a few stories, and build a whole narrative. He unlocked it and turned the screen to me like a challenge. Here, look again, nothing happened between us, just messages. On the screen, their thread sat open with my name above. He scrolled up fast so the worst parts blurred past. Do you see us kissing, planning to hook up anything? No, I said, my voice dropping lower, calmer. Heavier. What I see is you turning me into a joke with someone cruel. I pointed at one of her lines about me always spiraling. And you reacting with flames like it is your favorite content. He pulled the phone back like I had slapped his hand. You are choosing to see it that way, that is on you. He walked toward the couch, then stopped halfway and turned around. I just needed someone who would not overreact to everything I said. Then you should date her, I shot back faster than I planned. The words hung in the air between us, solid and clear. I realized I actually meant it in that moment. If she fit his version of reality better, he could have it. He stared at me, breathing hard, then gave this small shrug. Maybe I will, he muttered, eyes sliding away. It landed in my chest like a stone, almost funny. There it was, the quiet truth finally slipping out sideways. I grabbed my bag from the chair and slung it over my shoulder. You know the worst part, I asked, heading toward the door. It is not even that you liked her posts or met up. I glanced back once and caught his expression, closed and stubborn. It is that you knew exactly what she did to me and joined her. My voice cracked on that last word, which pissed me off. You made me feel insane for being hurt while she laughed with you. He did not apologize, he did not flinch, he just watched me. You are rewriting history, he finally snapped, taking a step forward. You live in the past and expect everyone to tiptoe around it. He spread his arms like he was presenting a case to a jury. I tried to keep things calm, you hunted for reasons to be mad. I hunted because my gut would not shut up, I replied. And every time I checked, there was something new hiding there. I put my hand on the doorknob and felt my pulse jumping. You can spin it however you need, I am done playing interpreter. Do not run to your friends and act like I cheated, he warned. His voice dropped low, almost casual, which made it feel worse. They are only hearing one side and you love being the victim. That word stuck to my skin like something sticky and cheap. I am not going to my friends, I said, opening the door. He frowned, confused for a second, like his script glitched. Then who are you going to cry to about this? I stepped into the hallway, heart pounding, and looked back once. Strangers, I answered, and I meant it. People who were not invested in him or in me. People who would not cut me off mid-sentence with excuses. At least they will not be worried about keeping you comfortable. His mouth opened like he wanted to throw something mean. For once, he stopped himself, jaw locking around whatever it was. Do whatever you want, he finally said, turning away from me. He picked up his phone again like I had become background noise. I walked out without slamming the door, which felt important somehow. I carried his hoodie in my bag and hated that it still smelled like him. In the parking lot, my legs started shaking hard enough to slow me down. I got into my car, shut the door, and finally let my chest cave in. I did not text anyone at first, I just sat there. Then I opened the Reddit app like it was muscle memory. I went straight to the relationship page I always skimmed at night. The same one where I used to think, at least that is not me. My fingers hovered over the create post button for a long beat. I knew once I wrote it out, I could not pretend anymore. Typing would make it real in a way screenshots never did. That scared me and relieved me at the exact same time. I started with the title before I could overthink it. My boyfriend secretly hung out with my bully and blocked me from seeing the story on Instagram. It looked dramatic, written out that blunt, almost fake. But every word on that line was completely, painfully accurate. Then I began pouring the story into the text box. Not everything, not every tiny detail, but all the important parts. The hidden stories, the close circles, the messages where I was comedy. I typed fast, deleting whole sentences when they started sounding too soft. I admitted I checked his phone, I did not skip that part. I admitted I had a secondary account watching their posts. I admitted I stayed longer than I should have, hoping he would choose me. I told on myself and on him at the same time. Halfway through, I almost closed the app and walked it back. I could hear his voice in my head calling me unstable again. I could see him telling people I was exaggerating for attention. My thumb hovered over the cancel button, shaking slightly. Then I thought about that one text from her. She is lucky you still deal with her. I remembered his little "yeah, I know" right after it. That was the line that pushed my thumb away from cancel. I finished the post with one last question to the void. Something like, was I wrong to end it or just late? I read it twice, heart hammering against my ribs. Then I hit submit and watched it disappear into the feed. I did not feel instantly lighter, there was no magical release. It was more like setting a heavy box down for a minute. The weight was still there, just not in my arms alone. At least now it lived somewhere outside my own distorted memory. My phone started buzzing with notifications faster than I expected. Comments popping up from usernames I had never seen before. Some called him out, some called me out, some asked for clarity. Weirdly, the mix helped more than blind comfort would have. Reading strangers dissect my situation hurt and helped at once. I watched them point out things I had normalized for months. Patterns in his words, patterns in mine that I had brushed off. It was like someone turned the room lights on after a long evening. He texted me once that night while I was still scrolling. Hope you are getting whatever validation you wanted from this. No apology, no accountability, just that one line of contempt. I stared at it for a long time, then deleted the thread. I am not going to pretend I became wise overnight. I still replay small moments wondering what I missed earlier. I still cringe at the way I clung to him even with proof. But I also know this for sure now and it keeps me steady. I would rather be single and called crazy by people like him than stay quiet and let someone rewrite my reality for comfort. Typing my story out for internet strangers felt pathetic at first. Now it feels like the exact moment I picked myself over both of them.